This video will present the interaction of bubbles caused by forming of helical structured water molecules in vicinity of ice. Introduction. The mechanism to form bubble in water is able to repair it and reproduce it. The bubble will create a new bubbles by coalescence. Organized thermal motion of the molecules in the water played an important role in such activities. The observations were carried out about the bubbles using movies photographed by digital camera. At the first, the model of the molecular structure of liquid water will be discussed. Heat of fusion of ice is 1.4 kilocalorie per mole. The difference of bonding energy between ice and liquid water is small. Activation energy of the viscosity of water decreases from 5 kilocalorie per mole according to temperature raise. It corresponds to the activation energy of hydrogen bond. The molecule of water in liquid state is a tetrahedral, and each tetrahedron is arranged spiral similarly to alpha quartz. Here, alpha lattice structure is trigonal. Beta structure is a hexagonal. Alpha lattice structure is obtained by rotations of tetrahedron around the electric axis of beta structure. Theta rotation results in the reduction ratio of cosine theta. This reduction results in a cohesive force. This is the rotational vibration of tetrahedron in the helical structure. The spiral structure of liquid water grows along three directions of electric axis owing to the Coulomb force. There is through in a direction perpendicular to the plane of electric axis. When carbonated water in glass container was slowly frozen, tunnels of bubble grew toward the center from the wall side. Some group of tunnels is parallel. If ice is placed at room temperature, bubble having a structure in disc shape will come out from the wall side of ice. There are plural bubbles inside of the bubble, that looks like a snowman. It is impossible to form a membrane of bubble without intermolecular force. Also, it is impossible to form a structured bubble without interaction between molecules. The bubble on the surface of water binds each other at the waist. Observations on the behavior of bubbles in water in vicinity of ice. In case of the bubble formed by air or by carbon dioxide gas, molecule of water form a helical structure in contact with the electric plane to the plane of interface. Since spiral structure obtains cohesive energy, it works as an attractive force between two membranes. The attractive force of perpendicular to the sphere of individual bubbles forms a structure of sandwich. The orientation of the long axis changes from the horizontal direction to the vertical direction. It is an evidence of disk. The bubbles generated from the ice of carbonated water will change the structure. A large number of donut-shaped bubbles comes out at the final stage of thaw. A still image indicates that the bubble of donut is formed from multiple bubbles. Donut-shaped bubble is seen at the final stage of thaw. Slow motion of replay was carried out by 2.5 frames per 1 second using the movie of 30 frames per second. There are plural of bubbles in each layer of the sandwich. Coalescence of bubbles. The coalescence that a bubble is absorbed into the middle portion. helical structure on the move accompanied with a spiral motion. The bubble coalesces by connection to the waist of another bubble. Helical structure of the water is formed between the two bubbles before unification. Mechanism of coalescence of bubble. The spiral structure of water that is formed between two bubbles prevents intrusion of water molecules in the gap, and it shrinks the gap. The force pulling the membrane from center to outside operates when the helical region that occurred by approach will spread. It will unify the two bubbles. A bubble sometimes acts repulsive to the other bubble when it goes too near. The reason might be due to the fact that there is the helical structure, of which direction of rotation is opposite. There is the possibility that trace of movement remains immediately after. The partner of bubble that pulls each other is changeable. The spiral structure that contains gas molecules in its the through hole. The spiral structure expands by the other bubble, and it forms a bubble after rapid movement. Bubble of doughnut structure is released by a collision of bubble. The moving bubble repeats generation of helical structure containing gas in its through hole. A bubble of doughnut type generates a spiral structure, and it makes sudden movement accompanying with the other bubbles. Eventually, it will become spherical bubble via sandwich type. The similar movement to coalesce of bubbles in water was seen in the case of coalesce in ice. But the motion in case of ice is slow. Fine powder of iron is rapidly moved to dry ice in the water. This phenomenon is explained as follows. At first, the carbonate ion appears on the surface of dry ice. The carbonate ion attaches to the surface of iron. Formation of spiral structure is formation of the route to transport of fine iron powder. Following movie is the thermal motion of the particles in the ice at last stage of thawing. Thermal motion of the very fine particles can be observed under the flicker noise. This video was captured at the highest magnification of digital camera under bright lighting. The replay was advanced at 0.4 seconds for each frame. It is impossible to generate this motion of fine particles by the random thermal motion of individual molecule of water. Conclusions. The spirally structured water will be formed in contact with the bubble membrane. It lowers the energy, and contracts the size. The vertical attraction to the membrane of each bubble can be explained with structure of bubble, such as doughnut type and sandwich type. A coalescence of bubbles, or rapid movement of bubble, is caused by mutual interaction of the spiral structure. A rotation of spiral structure of water is able to explore the route to the partner of reaction. It has played an important role in biochemical reactions. Thank you for your attention.